What's going on, everyone? This is Telemachus showcasing Caido, an amazing toolkit for web application security auditing and testing that is here to stay and can be an awesome alternative for mainstream tools like burpsuit and Z-Attack proxy. In order to start using the various utilities and tools that Caido has to offer, first you need to create a new project. I have already done it. I named it test project, and we're gonna use this to capture some traffic and mess around with all of these nice tools. And the first thing I want to showcase is, you will see if I go to HTTP history, I have already captured some requests from various domains. I really love the way that I can create presets about the scope, what is in and out of scope with Caido. For example, I can create a new preset and name it test preset. For example, we're going to focus today on this domain. This is valn.space because it's something I own and control on the cloud, a host, a domain that we're gonna, let's say, attack. And with these presets, I can just say that, hey, I want this is valn.space, but also with Caido, can use an asterisk, for example, and say, hey, I want every third level domain also associated with this domain, which is really cool and fast. And now if I just go to HTTP history, for example, and use the unset scope filter here, I can just use the preset I created and it will automatically filter all of the requests to show me just the ones matching my filter. This is something you can also do with the sitemap. If you have been using burpsuit, you know definitely that if you don't set your scope from the beginning, you will be filled with various domains that are kind of messing your sitemap here. And in Caido, we can just use this preset, and again, we will just filter and have all of the stuff that we need. Caido also includes a killer search utility. You can go to this tab and create filters, multiple ones. And for example, something that's really cool is that you can search responses, the raw data in responses for strings. For example, I can search for session. If I hit enter now, the filter is contains session. I hit enter and now I have filtered all this history of HTTP requests. I can see, for example, this one. If I go to the response, I clicked in the window and now I can do Control F to just search and verify that there is a session value in this response. And of course, you can use multiple filters. For example, based on status code, we can just do this in the 200 family, let's say, add, and it's just added to the list of filters, which is super awesome. And it's something that you don't really have in the burpsuit, for example, community edition. This is also the community edition of Caido. It's not a paid plan or something. It's free and you can search with strings, which is super helpful among other things. You can of course capture requests with the intercept feature, which is right now set to forwarding, meaning that every request that is coming to the Caido proxy is being forwarded and recorded in the HTTP history. But let's shut it down. This is the queuing setting, which will just hold it for us so we can edit, decide if we will drop it or forward it. And let's create a request here to capture. Let's say we were about to log into this test application, and I'm just going to submit this request. I have set up here with Foxy Proxy a setting that will just forward from my browser to Caido. And here we have the login request. We can drop it, forward it, or whatever. Here also on this upper window, we see the history of the requests that have been queued, which is super useful. For example, if I hit this again and again, we will see that we have 3 requests. 2 of them are get because I just clicked enter on the URL. We can now just click on this window and hit Ctrl R to send this to replay, which is something like the repeater in burpsuit. And here we can just mess with this request, send it, see the response, which is a redirect in this situation. We can test for SQL injections or whatever we want. This is actually not really... Oh, I thought it wasn't vulnerable to SQL injections. Not sure what happened here. Maybe it is. Another thing I particularly like in Caido is the convert feature, with which I can create customized conversion patterns by chaining nodes together. Imagine, for example, you wish to submit an encoded string or hash that you found by testing a web app to a decoding process that involves multiple different steps. This feature allows us to do so very easily. Let's assume, for example, that we have this base64 encoded string that if I decode, you will see it is something like it could be a hex value, right? This could be bytes. There's no delimiter, there's no prefix. we can try to see if this matches some ASCII text that makes sense. And right here I have another converter. I'm gonna drop this string, and if I convert it, you will see that it is please subscribe in hex. And I can grab this base64 encoded value, and if I return to Caido, I can make a process. Here we start. We need to decode base64. We'll just connect these two, and then we need to decode as hex without a prefix or delimiter. This was the format of the string I submitted here as a test, let's say, as an example. And now I can save this and use it. And if I just insert here my input, which is the base64 encoded string, and run it, I will see the end of this process, which involves two different decoding mechanisms. And of course, there's much more to add here. Another incredible feature of Caido is the automate, which basically allows us to brute force parameters based on word lists. And we can go to HTTP history, for example, and send a request that we wish to further audit to automate. And from this tab here, we can go and mark stuff that we want to fuzz. For example, if we wanted to look for third level domains, we could do something like mark this right here, this text string as I just added here. Let's not do the login, let's just request the root folder. And I used files to drag and drop to upload a word list from seclist. I chose this raft medium words lowercase just for an example. And if we go back to automate now, we can, it's already selected actually. We also have 4 attack strategies. We better look here online. It's really interesting. We have sequential. This will replace markers. The marker is right here. We can place more or remove them. This will replace markers one at a time as the brute force is taking place. The old strategy will replace all the markers with the same value. The parallel one will replace all the markers with different values from different payloads, which is super awesome. But I think this is the best, which basically will combine all of the markers and word lists that you have chosen and will make every possible combination, I guess. And it's the most effective probably to discover vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So let's see it happen. We can just now start. We see that it is spamming requests in an attempt to discover third level domains. Caido also supports match and replace rules, which means we can set up rules that will match and replace automatically for every request that comes and goes through our proxy, a request header value or a request body value or a response header and or response body value, which is super useful to test things like how will the application react if it expected to receive a response with status code 302 found, but instead it received a 200 request. Maybe it will reveal something it shouldn't. A 200 response, I wanted to say. Maybe it will reveal something it shouldn't, and it will do something it shouldn't do, something that only an authenticated user could do, for example. And let's test this. Let's, for example, change something in the request body. We'll test with this one here, this Windows that is, I guess, to send test requests. Let's search for key, that we see it here. And we'll replace this with la la la. And if I send this, I can see nothing because maybe I didn't save. And if I send this again, I can see that this value before this request was delivered, it was replaced with la la la. And let's do one more with a response header value. We will change 200 OK, which is the standard, let's say, response from a server, a web server, to please subscribe. And we're gonna save. And when we go to HTTP history, now if I call a URL from my browser that would respond with 200, let's say I just call the login page here, we should go to this latest response and nothing happened. And I don't know why. This should have been altered to this please subscribe value. Let's see what was my mistake. I saved. It's in the response header. Maybe it should be response first line. Oh, I don't think so, but let's check it out. And yep, that's it. Now we see here, this is the original response. And if we go to automated edit, we see 0 subscribe. Okay, probably because of the strict format the response status code should have, which is an integer, the status code, and a word indicating what is the status. Found, redirect. No, that doesn't exist actually. Found, okay, forbidden, not found, something like that. I guess please was just eliminated to 0 because it didn't make sense, and this is why we just see subscribe. In order to use Caido, you will need to create an account and download it. This was the free plan. You don't need to pay to use this or submit the credit card information or anything like that. If you like this video, please subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.